What's going on, guys? Dave Mate from Circle the Drink, back again, talking about yerba mate water, the properly heated water, how to heat your water, how to store your water, different water for different types of mates, everything water. We're just going to talk about water for the next 20 minutes or so. If anybody has questions, feel free to jump on in to the circle. What's going on, guys? You're more than welcome. Dave Mate from Circle the Drink. Let me correct something. Again, talking about. All right, how to correct that. All right, we're good. All right, guys. So real quick, for those of you guys who are new, who don't know about yerba mate, I have to remind myself sometimes that probably most of the people watching this are just finding out about yerba mate for the first time. Yerba mate is a holly shrub that grows in South America, mostly in Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay, and Paraguay, select parts of Uruguay. And it's a very powerful herb that's been consumed with, notably by the ancient Guarani tribe of Paraná, the Paraná River. It has uplifting effects, kind of clears your mind, clears your body, clears your heart, keeps you energized, and there's zero crashing effects. There's zero jittery effects like coffee. Of course, this video is for educational purposes only, so do your own research, but I'm sure that you'll be pleasantly surprised, as they always say, to find out how comprehensive this plant is in terms of health benefits, in terms of social benefits, helps connect you to friends, connect you to family, connect you to strangers. It's sort of a ritual where you prepare it traditionally out of a gourd like so. You add the herb in here, then you add a metal straw, which is called a bombilla or bombilla, that has a filter at the end, and then you add your hot water every single time, boom, and then you consume it. That's the most traditional way of drinking yerba mate. Each country that consumes yerba mate, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, Brazil, they have their own little techniques on how to prepare it the traditional way. But keep in mind that you can also prepare yerba mate out of a teapot, French press, just like how you would with regular, green tea or black tea. But today we're going to talk about these sort of caveats when it comes to preparing the water with yerba mate. All right, guys. So let's first talk about types of water. Now, please don't be overwhelmed. You could use any sort of water you have. Tap water, fine. Faucet water, whatever water you have, it's going to be better than no water. Okay, most people have pretty decent water. When I first started drinking yerba mate 2009, 6 years ago, I was just using tap water. I was living in Argentina for a couple years, and everyone there pretty much used tap. So it wasn't that bad. I wasn't too worried. Generally speaking, I try to avoid tap water when it comes to teas. Only because, I want to taste the tea in its most natural form. And many times tap water is either too hard or too soft, or contains certain things that are added by different governments, different states, what have you, different countries. So I try to generally avoid using tap water when it comes to making tea. But if it's available and it's quick and easy to grab, I'll just use tap water if I need to. So that's the one option that everyone has, tap water. So there's no excuse for you not to drink yerba mate. Now, as you begin to get more advanced and become sort of a connoisseur with teas, I recommend that you start to use filtered water. Get yourself a filter that could, filter out most of the bacteria, most of the lead, things like that. And you could buy a filter for 20, 30 bucks at any convenience store. And right there, that alone will improve your tap water. Now, if you want to step it up from the filter, you can start buying bottled water. It gets a little expensive, but if you really think about it, what's the value of your health? What's the value of peace of mind? So at one point, I was starting to drink spring water that you could buy at pretty much any supermarket. I was buying this brand, I forgot what it was called. It was Glacier Water. I was buying it at Whole Foods Market. I think they sell the Trader Joe's as well. It was like $1 a gallon. Not bad. $1 a gallon for clean Glacier Water. I was using that for several years. I still use that every once in a while. Another option of water would be if you really want to go crazy and you really are health conscious and you really aren't scared to spend money, I would recommend getting a water that has a high pH, 9.5 pH. There's a whole phenomenon that's going on, a whole new revolution of water. There's water companies popping up all over the place that will sell you water. You buy one of those huge drums, 5-gallon, 10-gallon drums, and they'll sell you water for relatively cheap. Some of these water companies provide high pH water, pH 9.5. When the water has a higher pH level, that usually corresponds with water that has microclusters, water that has more clusters and smaller clusters. As the water has more microclusters, that water penetrates your body deeper on a cellular level, and it also penetrates any sort of constituent in which it's in. So if it's in tea, it's going to break down the tea better, break down the cereal better. It's just a water that's very good for you. It's essentially an antioxidant. It kind of works like an antioxidant. I'm not going to go so much into that, but I highly recommend that if anyone wants to step up their game and learn more about this, just do some Google research on pH, 9.5 pH water, alkaline water. Now, there are some machines that also make this water. These machines range anywhere from $300 to $5,000. So it gets pretty expensive. A lot of companies buy these machines to resell water to other people or to provide their employees with this water. One machine that I highly recommend is called a Kangen, Kangen, Kangen machine. That's one of the best investments that myself and my associates have made over the past several years drinking this water. You definitely notice a difference when you're drinking a high pH water. Now moving along, we have another option, distilled water. Anybody can make distilled water. You just need to let water sit in, let's say, a glass jug for up to 24 to 48 hours, and the water is distilled. It's not such a bad idea. The only thing with distilled water is that arguably it's dead water. Everything that was in it is dead. All the activity, minerals, things like that gets kind of burned out, and the water just becomes this neutral water. Some people argue that distilled water could actually leach vitamins from you, leach minerals from you. I don't know. I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. If you are consuming a diet that's rich in vitamins, nutrients, minerals, then you don't have to worry about that sort of effect, that sort of chelation occurring with distilled water. I think that it's not even a valid point with that way of living. When you're just eating well, drinking well, you don't have to worry about that. So just to recap, we have tap water, not a bad idea. I've used it for years. I still use it once in a while. Fine. We have spring water. You could buy spring water in a bottle, or you could go to findaspring.com and try to find a local spring in your area. If I'm totally honest, the best water I've ever had in my life was spring water gushing out of a hill in Northern California. When I used to live in Northern California, we were basically hiking out there every single day in the deep. We would find these springs, and I would literally just dunk my head into the spring and just drink the best water I've ever had in my life. So if you could get a hold of some spring water, go for that. We have alkaline water, water that's high in pH, 9.5 pH. A little pricey, but it may be worth it, especially for the super health conscious people out there. And then we have distilled water. Distilled water that just has been allowed to evaporate all the activity, to evaporate all the minerals and nutrients, and just becomes kind of a neutral water, very neutral tasting. I'm not so much of a fan of it these days. It tastes kind of flat to me, distilled water. So those are your options with water, okay? Everybody watching this video hopefully has access to water. I hope that you do. If not, I'll send you some good prayers and energy that you have good water eventually. So water is very important when it comes to making tea, especially if you're entering into the connoisseur level. You're going to want to consider water. Is your water hard? Is it round? Is it soft? Is it flavorful? All waters are different. Okay. Some people think that all water tastes the same. Absolutely not. All water is different. Even all the bottled waters are different. Dasani, what's the other one? I thought it was okay. Reverse osmosis. Nowadays, I usually stick to spring water, Kangen water, 9.5 pH water, those waters. Okay, guys, moving along. So let's talk about water temperatures, heating up water. I should have brought my kettle in here to show you, but basically, you're going to want to get yourself a good kettle. Now, kettles, as you all know already, come in two principal fashions. We have electric kettles. You just press the button and it heats up the water to your desired heat. And then we have the generic kettles you just throw on the stove. Okay? I love the generic kettles. I love the ones that you just take off the top and you look in. I use an OXO kettle, the stainless steel brushed one. You'll find that on Amazon. Very easy to find. I think it holds up to 2 gallons or something like that. 2 liters. And I like the kettles where you can take off the top and really look in. Okay? Now, for those of you that are on the go, you don't really have time, go ahead and get yourself an electric kettle. But get yourself one that allows you to control the temperature. Don't get one that just brings it up to a boiling point and that's it. So, the first thing that should be said about mate water, heating it up, you don't want to boil the water. Okay, you don't want to bring the water up. Boiled water is about 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Once you reach that, you're going to... You don't necessarily want that when you're making mate. In my opinion, mate is a very volatile herb. It's very delicate. It's almost a little feminine. You know, it's kind of just soft and, you know, intuitive sort of herb. Something like black tea, fine, go all the way, 190, 200, boil it. Something like mate, I recommend 3 stages of water, okay? The first stage starts at 150 degrees to 165 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Now, for those of you guys using Celsius, I wrote down the Celsius for you. That's 65 degrees Celsius to 74 degrees Celsius, okay? So this water right here, you cannot really go wrong. This is a very nice, comfortable water temperature. It will work for any mate, this water temperature. It's very comfortable, very easy. It's not too hot, not too complicated. Usually I recommend this water for lighter varieties, especially varieties where you really want to taste the floral notes. Any mates that have floral notes like Ascension, Pajarito, Rosa Mate Especial, I would recommend using a lower temperature, somewhere around 165, you know, 175 maximum. But if you really want to taste the mate, I recommend 150 to 165 when it comes to floral, delicate mates. Now the next 165 to 175. Now in this range, you're going to really kind of agitate the herb more, and you're going to kind of extract more of the flavors, and it's going to be a bolder sort of situation. The Celsius on that would be 74 to 79, and the Fahrenheit, to repeat, is 165 to 175. Now, I like to use that temperature. That's kind of like my go-to temperature, sort of, for standard classical Argentine yerba mates, Mission, Cruz de Malta, Rosa Mate Traditional, Nobleza Gaucha, Pipore. All these sort of classical Argentine yerba mates do very well in 165 to 175. I would probably ear towards the 175, to be honest. I kind of like the heat. I'm a guy of heat. I like heat. I don't necessarily like the kind of cooler mates unless I'm drinking all the way to today where it's just cold. But I don't really like lukewarm, kind of confused state. No, it's either going to be cold, low temperature, mid temperature, or hot. I don't like anything in between. Moving along, the last stage, the hottest mate, I would say is between 175 degrees Fahrenheit and 185 degrees Fahrenheit. definitely don't exceed 190, 195. That's like the red line. 175 to 185, and the Celsius would be 79 to 85 degrees Celsius. This mate is for the heavy hitters, this temperature. Why? Because I believe that this temperature really extracts those alkaloids. It really extracts those excitatory chemicals that get you sharp, that get you awake, that just get you going. In the morning, I don't take any chances. I just go for a 185 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, I used to go 187. I like 187. 187 is not bad. I used to go crazy about it and go up to 187.5, something like that. But this last stage of heat, which is the hottest, honestly, you could interchange any one of these heats with any sort of mate. I'm just speaking generally. So this last high temperature I recommend for gaucho mates in particular, mates that are very malty, because in order to get the maltiness out, it needs heat. Okay? I don't know the exact explanation chemistry-wise, but from my own experience of 6 years, I've noticed that whenever I'm drinking a gaucho mate, like Del Salvador, Galaxy, Canarias, even the Chimarrão or Erva Mate, the sort of green, super green mates from Brazil, I like hot water with those. I like 185, I like 187 with those. Because as you notice with those mates, when you add hot water, you're gonna get a lot of those white foams, a lot of those white bubbles, a lot of that maltiness, goodiness, taste, Guinnessed out taste. So you need the high temperatures. I've tried those mates with low temperatures. Nah, not a big fan. So let's just recap, guys. You got 150 to 165 low temperature. You could use that for any mates, but I recommend using that for mates that have a floral taste to kind of protect the soft. 65 to 175. That's your just general go-to temperature. That can be used for anything, but I recommend using that for all your classical Argentine mates. Anything that's classical Argentine cut, can't go wrong. Guayaquil stuff, Aviva stuff, Circle of Drink stuff, you know, all other companies out there, even the ones in South America, or especially the ones in South America, they're the dominant ones. Cruz de Malta, all those guys go very well, 165 to 175. And then the last one would be 175 to 185. I recommend that for your gaucho mates from Brazil, mates from Uruguay, the ones that have a lot of powder. And of course, you could also use that temperature for your Argentine mates as well. Fine, no problem. So now that we discussed the temperatures of the water, how do we achieve these temperatures? Well, the simple way is to get a thermometer. Get a thermometer, stick it in there, and wait until it reads the temperature that you want. That's the simple way. I don't really do that anymore unless I'm experimenting with new blends and I need to find out the exact temperature of things. But apart from that, I don't use the thermometer. I just like the natural essence. You know, I like to with the whole situation. I want to use my hands, my fingers, my senses, my eyes, my ears, everything to really determine the water. Because I feel like if I do that, then I'm putting a part of myself into the experience. I'm putting a part of myself into the mate and putting a part of myself, a part of my energy into the whole circle. That's why I kind of stay away from all that, you know, thermometers, this and that, even though I'm a technologist, still. So fine, you get a thermometer, that's a quick way to do it. No shame in that. Another way to do it is the ancient Chinese bubble method. And basically, I wrote about this method in my book, Mateology. If you want to read that, just type on Mateology on Amazon. You can pick yourself up a copy. It's also available free online. Just make sure to sign up for one of our Facebook groups, facebook.com/circleofdrink. And you can read the PDF for free online. Now, this method is a little cumbersome, but it's okay. Basically, it works in 3 stages, just to simplify the whole thing. There's actually 5 stages, but the 3 stages are this. The little tiny bubbles, as soon as you start to see the little tiny bubbles, okay, boom, that's it, you're ready. take off the kettle. Those little tiny bubbles that are just slightly larger than the grains of sand. That is a good temperature. Usually that's around 170-ish, 175-ish, 168-ish, something like that. The second stage would be medium bubbles. Medium bubbles that were very small pebbles, okay? That stage would be closer to the 175, 180 range. Once you see the little medium bubbles now, about this big, then you have the large bubbles. The large bubbles, you know, about that size. Once you start to see a couple of those large bubbles starting popping up, yet you're approaching about 190, 190-ish, maybe a little bit over 190. That heat is acceptable. It's just very hot and it's borderlining, you know, the boiling point. And then the last stage, which you never want to enter, would be the full boil, the rolling boil, as if you were making pasta. That water, in terms of Chinese traditional preparation of tea, would be considered dead man's water or dead water. They believe that that water is tasteless now. That water has no life anymore. You killed that water. This is backed by science in modern times. We know that as you boil water, you are expelling oxygen. As you expel oxygen from the water loses shape. It becomes flat and less round. I believe that this roundness actually has a taste, not necessarily a taste like flavor, but more of a taste like shape. What's the mouth feel? What's the roundness? What's the curvature of the water? Remember, water has shape. So water that's fully boiled, or dead man's water, has no shape, and it lacks the ability to hold flavor, arguably because the oxygen has been expelled from the water. Now, my little secret, I don't really use those bubble things anymore, not so much. I actually take it a step further. I listen. I know when something sounds 160, sounds 170, sounds 180, sounds 190. Okay, that just takes years of practice. If you guys are much smarter than I am, then you can figure it out sooner. But you'll just begin to learn what it sounds like. That coupled with your finger, this thing right here is the greatest thermometer. If you could stick this finger into the water and to pull it out after 1 second, the water's ready. I learned that from the Argentines. You stick the finger in as the water starts to become hot. If you could hold it in for longer than a second, it's not hot enough. If you could hold it in just for about 1 second, like, boop, pull it out, then it's right there, okay? That's a nice method. I actually use that method combined with the hearing. But then my little secret combined with all those would be to look for the swirls. Think of a heat wave. Think of a mirage when you're out in the desert and you kind of see that heat wave just floating around. You know, it looks like a fire, like a clear fire. I've noticed that you could actually see this in water. As the water begins to heat up, if you have a keen sense of awareness, a keen eye, you'll start to see these little waves just undulating in the kettle. As those waves begin to just undulate, even before the small, tiny bubbles happen, you're going to start to hear heavy steam, like shh, shh. As you begin to hear that, that coincides with those waves, those little heat waves. They're kind of like these sinewy little strands. And as soon as I see like 2 or 3 4 little baby bubbles start to pop up right after that, right after those little heat waves, and right with the sound that I'm listening for is there, then I take it off. And for me, it's probably around, on average, I'd say maybe 170-ish, a little bit over 170. Like I said, I like my water a little hot. You know, some days I'll get a little lazy and I'll bring the water all the way up to 185, 190, just to keep it real. But on the days where I'm trying to be true and really go deep into the art, deep into the culture of this, deep into the right preparation methods, I will really sit over that kettle and make sure that I get these little sinewy strands, heat waves, and take it off at the right time. But apart from all that, sometimes you just know. I don't necessarily always have to stand by the kettle. I just know. This has a lot to do with rote memorization. You know, you're just training your body, the time, the internal clock that's taking place. You just learn what temperature is this. It's not rocket science. But then, you know, you also want to take into account how does the kettle sound? What does 160 sound like? What does 170 sound like? And the way you learn those things is get a thermometer and learn what 160 sounds like, learn what 170 sounds like, learn what 180 sounds like. Now, of course, I have to speak generally because people have different ovens, they have different kettles, they have different material. So I can't, you know, generalize. I mean, I can't be specific about everybody's situation. But just generally speaking, there are different sounds for different heat. All right, so I hope you got proper heating. Now, let's move on to storing water. You store your water on one of these. This guy right here is a Stanley 1.9 liter thermos. This is my workhorse. I use this guy every day. Just get yourself a thermos. You can get yourself any single thermos. If you guys haven't seen my video on Yerba Mate thermoses, just Google that on YouTube. Just type in circle of drink, Yerba Mate thermos, and you'll see my video and articles on that. Like I said, this 1.9 liter capacity Stanley, I use this every day. It's a little bulky, it's a little heavy, so it's not for everybody. Excuse me a second. Let me show you guys these. This is the first thermos I've ever used in my life. This is just a basic thermos you could get from Target or Bed Bath & Beyond, any one of those sort of stores in the United States. You could get one of these. This is like a $12 thermos. It's kind of thin. Not bad. This thermos holds the water only the core temperature for about 3 hours. So it's not that great, but you get what you pay for. So if you're just having a quick circle with people and you're going to drink it quick within a couple hours, something like this, you spend 15 bucks on, it'll last you a lifetime. You know, it has one of these push tops. You got to push that in and then you pour and then it pops. This guy right here is a little different. It has two spouts, one here and then one on the other side. This one holds the core temperature for at least 10 hours. And then, you know, after that, it drops about 10 degrees for the next 15 hours. So you get a whole day's worth of heat with one of these. It's about a $50 thermos. You could probably find it cheaper somewhere, you know, just do your own little research. But for me, if you're serious about mate, you need a thermos that's high quality. And for those of you guys that host huge circles and just want hot water all day long, I highly recommend this brand, Zohi Rushu. I believe this is a Japanese brand, Zohi Rushu. And this is what you call an air pot. This is what you see like in 7-Eleven or cafes, restaurants where you go self-serve yourself coffee or tea. This just pops up. Boom, you squeeze this, it comes out. These are great. This is about $70 for something like this, and this holds, I think, about 2.5 to 3 gallons of water. So if you are having a huge mate circle and you just want water, you could even use this as a reservoir to fill up your other thermoses, and that's great. Over here at Circle of Drink, a lot of people are always around drinking mate, so I like to fill one of these up in the morning. And throughout the day, you know, we may go through 5 or 6 liters just from filling our thermoses up with this. So guys, I've spoken about water, different types of water, Poland Spring, whatever, bottled water. Get yourself the best water that you could get. Tap water, Kangen water, high pH water, alkaline water, natural spring water, bottled spring water. Get the best water that you could get, even if it's just a matter of going to get a filter for $20 and put it in a Brita filter. That alone will make the mate taste better. I truly believe that the water that's clean, water that has been preserved with integrity, is going to translate into a better tasting experience, a better tasting mate. It just makes sense. I've spoken about the different water temperatures. Stage number 1 is 150 to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Stage number 2 is 165 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Stage number 3 is 175 to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. Those are your 3 different stages of mate water as I see it. I'm sure other people have different opinions. Stage number 1 is great for preserving floral, kind of delicate notes, light floral, kind of cherry notes and delicate notes that you want to preserve. A good example would be Rosa Mate Especial. It has floral notes, but those floral notes could quickly be destroyed, quickly be masked if the water's too hot. For stage number 2, that's just your general temperature, 165 to 175. You can't go wrong. You can use that on any mate. And stage number 3, 175 to 185. I personally recommend using that for gaucho mates, or any mate really that you want to really kind of just coax the taste out, kind of smash the taste out. And when you do that, you will sacrifice some of the finer notes, but you will accentuate those bolder notes, you know, those aggressive notes, those tannins, those different compounds, those saponins, chlorogenic acid, caffeine, theobromine, theophylline. These sort of compounds, I believe, will be accentuated, and theoretically, you probably even get a bigger boost in cognition, a bigger boost in just jolting energy. And then I spoke about thermoses. You got different thermoses, different sizes. You got your cheap little thermos here, fine, works, 15 bucks. You got your, I would say this is a premium thermos, $50. The brand is called Stanley. And then if you want to basically store massive amounts of water, who knows, you're having a huge mate circle, or you're treating your office with your own blended mate, and you fill this up with it, fine. Get yourself a Zohi Rushu air pot. This is called an air pot, technically. It's just a huge thermos. This will cost you about $75. And what else can I say, guys? That's pretty much the rundown on yerba mate water. I believe that this is a science. This is an art. So be patient with yourself. Take time with yourself. Don't get frustrated. Just do the best you can and never give up. I take that approach with everything in life. With yerba mate, I've been studying it for 6 years now. From the first day that I had that sip back in April 2009, I took a sip. It was scalding hot, burned my throat. Everything was burned, but the camaraderie, the community, the partnership in which I was sharing with all these amazing people the first day in Argentina 6 years ago, that had a profound effect on my life. It changed my life. I devoted my life to really exploring herbs, and in particular yerba mate. Yerba mate has been the herb that I've really stuck with all over these years. Why? Because it just works. It sounds like a broken record. I know, guys, I say the same thing every week, but yerba mate, it's something different. It's not like green tea. It's not like black tea. It's not like any of the other herbs out there, like rooibos and I don't know, mint, whatever. Those are all great herbs. Don't get me wrong, but mate is in a class of its own. Just start drinking it. You know, if you want to get it immediately, just go out to one of your local Hispanic or Latin American supermarkets, and I'm sure you'll be able to find some. If you want to, you know, get one that's not so expensive, go online. You know, there's many websites out there like Ecoteas has, you know, pretty good mate. Their website's yerbamate.com. Even Guayaquil has pretty good mate. If you're going to get their stuff, try the San Mateo. But if you want to get something that's even, you know, a little bit more expensive, but custom blend, everything was paid attention to, mostly all organic, check out Circle of Drink. I consider that more top shelf, but of course I'm biased. That is my company. But suffice it to say, you could get mate. There's no excuse that you shouldn't be drinking mate. There's just so many places you could get it from your local bodega to literally dozens of websites online, ranging anywhere from, you know, a couple dollars a pound to $100 a pound, depending on where you go. So, guys, it's been a pleasure. My name is Dave Mate. I'm from circleofdrink.com, sharing mate, loving mate, just having fun with yerba mate. I'll be back every week, Tuesday, usually around 7:30. We have these. Right now, the schedule is 7:30 Eastern every single Tuesday. That time may change, so make sure to subscribe to us on Google+. That's google.com/the +sign and then Circle of Drink. Follow us there. Find us on Facebook. Our main group on Facebook is facebook.com/Circle of Drink. But then we have this kind of secret group that if you can find it, you got to request yourself and you'll get in. And that's more for the hardcore, very serious, very active Materos. The Matero is a person who basically takes mate as more than just an herb, more than just a drink, but a way of life. Somebody that really respects this herb and sees it as a conduit of peace and love and happiness. I know that sounds kind of wishy-washy, but it's true. Mate has a way of just kind of mellowing you out, connecting you with people, connecting you with family, connecting you with friends. I don't know how it does it. All I know is that it does it. Ask any serious yerba mate drinker, they'll tell you the same thing. All right, guys. So this has been another online yerba mate circle. I hope that people start to jump in on these circles as we go along. And have yourself a great night. Drink yerba mate. Be a good person. Salud. Peace.